Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This, That, and the Other. This is episode 4 in the series for season 1, and we've got the privilege today and the honor to have Holdaway with us. And Holdaway comes to us as let me just say he's got a pretty substantial record. 19 national championships, over 200 conference championships, boasts a 90% winning percentage, and he's been a member since January of '06. So the gentleman has done quite a lot in a couple of 14 years or so. Holdaway, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just want to tell you, I really appreciate the opportunity, and certainly I'm looking forward to some of the guys coming later on in your episodes. As I mentioned to you, I think you are certainly adding some great spices to the pot. So I just appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
I enjoy doing this. It's a passion of mine. I've done some college and high school play-by-play and color analysis over the years, hosted a sports show. So this is something that I really enjoy doing, and I'm just glad that the audience is receiving it as well as they are. And the participants who have been on the show thus far and those in the schedule here in the immediate future are willing to come on and give of their time to share some of their information with us. I think it's a good platform, especially in this current time that we're dealing with the crisis that's going on. But more importantly, someone mentioned on the boards early on that it brings a voice, if you will, to the names that you see on the screen when you're competing against them or reading the form. So it brings it a little more to life, makes it a little more personal, and I really enjoy that aspect. Tell me something now. We're going to get into your personal information as far as who you are, where you're from, how old you are, family background, any of that stuff that you're willing to share. But before we get started, I want people to know that you and I don't know each other. We haven't met, but our high schools did play football against each other. So that's pretty cool. Small world.
But we didn't know that till we got on the telephone. So I think you lived in Central Virginia, Lunenburg Central, and I lived in far western part of Virginia, a little place called Independence. For anyone that is a basketball fan, high school or college, there's a small private prep school here in my little county of 500 square miles with one red light. It's called Oak Hill Academy. And if you're not familiar with it, you may be familiar with some of the alumni, Kevin Durant, Rajon Rondo, Carmelo Anthony, Brandon Jennings, just some of the few of the guys that have actually attended there. As I told you, we get to go see those guys for $5. And it's kind of like going to your middle school gym to watch a basketball game, except for the fact that there's wooden bleachers on one side, maybe 6 or 7 rows. The players sit on the other side, but all the way around the gymnasium walls, about 3 rows deep, are all of the NBA and college jerseys from players that have went to school there. So pretty cool environment.
That's just amazing to have that quality and that caliber players coming through that system. I could see it if it was just a certain portion of a decade or a time frame, but this has been going on for years and years and years. It's not a fluke.
A long time. It's a little spooky because when Coach gets ready to retire, the real thing is somebody else going to be able to pick it up and run with it because he's been here for quite a while. But it'll be interesting to see how that happens. But yeah, so like I said, I live in the state of Virginia. I'm from here, grew up here, lived away for a while. Went to school at Virginia Tech. Graduated with an engineering degree from there in the late '80s. I'm 52, and my wife and she went to Radford. We lived 11 places in 9 years, all over the places. Young engineer, traveled all over the world, lived all over the world, and eventually had the opportunity to get back home. And I now live in that little bitty tiny place on my family farm. It's been our family since the late 1700s. So it's very nice. It's very dark at night, not a lot of traffic. And the coronavirus has actually reached us too. We actually had our first case within 20 miles.
Oh, wow.
So it's even out here. There's no more safe. So I got 2 kids. I'm happily married. Been married for 28 years. Got 2 kids, a 24-year-old and a 20-year-old. My 20-year-old just graduated from Virginia Tech back in the fall, and my son has been a promoter. He's worked for the Red Sox. He's done a little bit of everything. He's had a really, really a really, really cool college experience. But he is 24, so at some point he is going to actually have to finish college. And he thinks he's on the 30-year plan, but he's finishing. That's not how it's going to work out. I'm afraid.
Well, Holdaway, tell us about how you got your name and what's your actual name, your first name at least, anyway.
Well, my first name is Shannon, and actually my last name is that's how I signed up, just with my last name. So nothing fancy or extreme there. When I signed up a long time ago, back in 2006, technology was nowhere near it is today. So I was one of the first people to kind of hop in. So I was able to just use my last name. Maybe in hindsight that wasn't so smart, but I'm not changing it now. So.
Well, we're going to go ahead with the questions. Actually, that was question number 1 that P-Wist had picked out for you by numbers. And as I mentioned, the randomizer actually assigns the question to the particular number. So didn't know what the questions were until right before we air. So here we go with question number 2 then. And that is, how do you decide when it is time to move to a new team?
Well, the first time I played, some of the worlds were opening up, and at that point I thought I wanted to actually play at D1. So my timing back then was more a function of getting a good enough record that I could go and get a job that I felt like would allow me to move pretty rapidly through a new world. After I got established in a couple of places, I found that I probably enjoyed just kind of actually trying to build a gridiron dynasty. When people are trying to race in a new world or race up the ladder to get somewhere, you're not really trying to build a program. You're not looking for longevity. You're just looking for wins. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different ways to play this game. In my opinion, there's a lot of ways to play this game. You can play this game at whatever level of time commitment you're willing to have. You can do that in a couple different ways. You can be a lower level, play more teams, have a lower time commitment than maybe if, for example, I was playing one Division I team, I probably would just be absolutely swallowed up because I'm so competitive. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night because I'd be trying to game plan every single thing. So Division I wasn't for me. I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy it, and certainly the people that play at that level, it is a whole different game than D1AA, D2, D3. I think all of them are a little different. You have to manage them all a little different. D1AA is very, very challenging recruiting because the big guys can come down and scoop up anybody at any time. And if you get the upper vision in D1AA, you pretty much see everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Really good program, can see quite a few players.
Yeah, it doesn't leave a lot. And then, of course, D2 is more about the worlds you're in. So you can find a world that's very competitive. I mean, the 2 D2 worlds that I'm currently in, they both have some really, really great players in them. And they have some very well-established programs. Like in Hayes, Hoopcats, he's been in Emporia State forever, and he's just incredible. To be quite honest, he gives me my lunch every time I play him. And at the same time, it could be something even Angelo State, at Heisman, Angelo State.
We won't talk about that.
Okay.
You used to wax the floor with me when I was at E&MU there a few years back.
Well, don't feel bad because Hoopcats gives it right back to me every time I play with him. So.
Yeah, I wanted to be the homer and go to the school that I graduated from. Of course, it was an online, but it was Eastern Mexico University, and I said, I'll just take this team to the D2 National Championship. I couldn't even get out of my division of my conference.
Sorry about that, man.
Not a problem. Anyway, you may have already addressed it, but the third question is, what's your best advice for new players?
So I think the first one is the answer is not to not play people that are good. Now, that being said, you want to play them in the playoffs, and you might want to play one guy a year, but you've got to get your vision up. You're never going to compete if you don't have vision. You just don't see the same players. I think that the number one thing would be those 5 exhibition games that you get, try to schedule those guys around teams that you can beat when you start. And I know nobody wants to play Sims, but get your vision up because vision leads to recruiting. Recruiting leads to talent, especially at D3. talent drives wins. It just drives wins.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a break at this point and end our first segment. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Do you have a small beaver? Or maybe a big beaver? If you're a beaver owner, you'll know that there's nothing worse than an unruly or unkempt beaver. But with new Beaver Retriever, you can be assured of total beaver control.
Beaver Retriever. Make your beaver come when you want.
Ah, good beaver. You love being stroked, don't you?
To keep your dog in top condition, get your pet complete nutrition. Feed them sturdy, make them sturdy, happy, friendly, fatty, birdie. Any dog can be a winner if he eats some sturdy dinner. Feed them sturdy, beefy sturdy, that's what that insist on sturdy. Ask any dog who's tasted it, the doggy with the bit. You sturdy dinner, dog food is delicious.
And welcome back, everybody. We're joined today by Holdaway. He's completed his first segment, answered 3 of the 10 questions. We've got 4 coming up in this segment. And the first one that we're going to hit is, what is the biggest change that you would like to see in Gridiron Dynasty?
Well, actually, it would be probably the only thing that would ever get me to go back to Division I. And that is, I'm not a fan of the current elite system that's predetermined by some magic that was done years ago. I would much rather it be based on a rolling 10-year picture, for example, or even a rolling 5-year picture based on performance, so people have an opportunity to get that elite status, and it has to be maintained. It's not just a rite of passage. Just because you have the OSU in the end zone doesn't mean that you should have elite status. And with all due respect to the Ohio State fans, it's not about them being Ohio State fans. It's about the fact that you have to earn that elite status. Florida State, for example, in the 90s, could get anybody they wanted.
Yeah.
All the way up through the early 2000s. It's not that way at Florida State now because they've...
Nope.
Clemson, on the other hand, in the 90s, early 90s, was pretty good. And then all of a sudden, nobody wanted to go to Clemson, and Dabo was kind of an afterthought. Our guy at Virginia Tech almost got that job, probably turned it down, and Dabo ended up there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that elite status is something that I would like to see go away. I know a lot of guys that play at the D1 level, and I'm not one of those guys, but the guys that play at the D1 level would like things to be somehow different from a playoff perspective, et cetera. But I think the number one thing that would at least entice me to want to come back is that.
And I think you'd be surprised just how many people share your viewpoint. Tell us something about this. This is one of those things that I'm always reluctant to ask, but what's one thing people would be surprised to know about you? And this is a PG program except for the advertising.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. I don't know what that would be surprising. I don't know. I may have to take another question.
Oh, not a problem. I'll insert one. And this is one that I was going to ask you about. Noticed in your activity there, you have quite a few Menlos. What's the story behind that?
Okay, so this is kind of funny. So when I came back, I played from like season 16 to season mid-60s in Bryant. I played at Emory and Henry, which obviously you know is very, very close to where I live out here. And those were back in the days of run, call timeout, and then run 3 more times, cloud of dust.
Right.
And they were close to me. They were nothing when I picked them up, and I eventually that's where I won my first national championships. And there were a lot of great guys I used to play against in Bryant. Bryant used to be one of the, if not the most populated world. We had all this really cool stuff going on, and the boards were incredibly active. And it's really weird because at that time, the Bryant World board was the most active. It wasn't the overall board. I rarely, if ever, went there. I always went to the Bryant board because that's where everybody posted. And, back in those days, Canes for Life and Bulldog, and J.J. Murphy, M.J. Mage, Fugu, Nelson, B.A., all this. I don't think any of those guys are around anymore.
Nelson is. Yeah, Nelson's still
Nelson
here.
Still around?
Yep.
Bryant D3 back in those days was just
Yep.
It was loaded. It was great. And when I came back, I was going to be Henry and Henry. Well, I couldn't. So I got Menlo. And I got Menlo out of respect for Canes for Life, who is a guy that I used to play against at Menlo all the time. And so after I got back in, a season or two after I got back in, I realized what MFN Myers was doing. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to do the same thing he's doing. I'm just going to get 6 or 8 worlds. I'm going to be Menlo in all those worlds. So I started collecting, I guess technically, collecting Menlos. And then I decided that, no, that's kind of copycat. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try to play in some places I hadn't played. So I'd never been in Texas except at D1AA, Texas State. So I said, well, I'll go to Texas school. So I ended up with Austin, and then I ended up moving on up to D2. I really, when I first came back, was not going to move up to D2 because I didn't want to put the time in. I just wanted to have some, a distraction. But that's how it started. I was going to be the St. Olaf West. I was going to be
yeah. the school that Rose made famous on Golden Girls. St. Olaf's.
Hey, funny story about Menlo though. My son and I, we're big Oakland Raider fans, and we took a trip out to California a year ago, and he actually plays the basketball game, and he plays Menlo in the basketball game.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of funny that we went out. We got our picture made in front of the little Menlo sign at the school while we were out there because it's just south of San Francisco. I don't even think they have a football. I don't think they have a field large enough to throw a football on.
Well, was there ever a time when you first started that there was a particular coach? I know you've mentioned quite a few here, but that you looked up to, and if so, who was it and why?
Well, without a doubt, the first time I played Canes for Life was awesome to me, and so was MJ Mays. They both were really good to me in D3. I learned a lot from those guys when I first started. I think they probably were. I wouldn't call them mentors because basically they just beat the crap out of me, but they were always really nice about it, if that's possible. It was never, hey, you did great. It's better this year than last year. That running game looks better, or whatever it may be. And they're always willing to give me a tidbit or two. I think any of the older coaches, they'll typically give you a tidbit or two.
Sure.
They're not going to tell you how they're doing it. But if you're respectful and ask them a pointed question, most of the time they'll give you a great answer. And I mean, all joking aside, I put on the boards a few weeks ago that whenever Nitros says anything, I take a screenshot of it. I have a folder that says Nitros because anything he says, there's just a lot of stuff there. Yeah, you need to read it multiple times and walk away and come back. And the series, I think it was in Wilk. They did the series, the How to Play series. That was awesome. And the Wilk podcast, I mean, those are always great, even though they're not always applicable to the level I play at. I still watch all of them and listen to all of them. I think they're really good.
We're going to go with question number 4 before we end the segment, and that is, how do you decide what aggressiveness settings to use? Is it based on the coach? Is it based on the team? Or is it just game planning in general?
Are you talking offense or defense?
Either one.
A lot of times it's based on taking a look at what my opponent is doing. So when I first came back and I was trying to learn the passing game, I took like a 60-season break, and things changed dramatically in that 60 seasons. The pendulum kind of swung all the way to the other side. So when I came back, I had to basically learn how to throw. If you threw the first time I played, you were desperate. Run. It's a lot different now. So I think a lot of times it's driven by down and distance in D2. Down and distance a lot of times drives that. And in my game plan, am I using my setup game plan to prepare for what I'm really wanting to run, resting my starters? I mean, go back to, I can't remember if it was Big Papa or somebody else talked about, using one running play to set up your passing play by wearing out somebody, and then that position being worn down and substituted, and that's when you switched over to your other game plan at different distances, what drives it as well. And defensively, it's really driven by what I think they're trying to do. If they're trying to throw the ball short a lot, then I may be a little bit more aggressive defensively. the guy you got coming on later this week, Blitz is coming. I stand it. I sit at the feet of the master. He knows a lot more about those defensive settings than I ever will. For example, Islanders Bob. I think I'm 0 for 5 in national championships against him.
Wow,
and that's,
man.
That's
Ouch.
one world. That's one world, and that's in like the last decade. And to be honest with you, I ran a 3-4, and I tried everything running a 3-4 to stop him. And to be quite frank, I switched to a 4-4.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out in a 3-4. And, when you're 0 for 5, you're willing to try anything.
You got, hello. Yeah, there's your sign. Well, this is our sign to go ahead and end this segment, so we're going to pause and come back shortly.
Yo-ho, yo-ho, brush, let's all lather, boys, whichever use the notion. 50 cents for shaving cream, $1 for the lotion. Old Spice means quality, said the captain to the bosun. So look for the package with the ship that sails the ocean. Yo-ho, 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 yo-ho.
Premium beer, lucky premium beer. So lively, get lucky. Swing to exciting beer flavor.
Finest ingredients, aged for flavor. That's Lucky Lager. Flavor that's entertaining, enthusiastic, a very exciting beer.
Lucky beer, premium beer, lucky premium beer.
Glad everybody made it back after the pause. And question number 8. Who would you suggest be interviewed?
So I actually posted something on one of your threads with a list of people that I thought would be awesome. I think you've got most of them on there that I suggested. I think Mojo's absolutely hilarious. And I know he's kind of made clear that he doesn't want to do this kind of thing, but I think he would be awesome. Obviously, the guys that beat me up all the time, I'd love to see them on there. Hoot Cats, Islanders Bob, Big Papa, of late, Hurricane, Champ 83, GoDaddy. I think he's awesome. I think those are kind of Dog Nuts. I think you've got him already.
Yeah, he's coming up 2 more episodes. He'll be on.
And I think, and of course, MFN Myers. I mean, he's got a story to tell too. So, and outside of the guy that I can't understand anything he says when he posts something, I think that's probably it. But that might be cruel and unusual punishment for you to have to try to.
I've got this. Here we go. My reference back to Golden Girls. I've got this sneaking suspicion that MFN Myers is like Rose's grandson or something. Do you have any other WIS IDs that you use or that you're willing to divulge? I know some people have more than one.
I've only ever played under the one that I have. That's it. That's all.
Okay. Well, your last question is, what area of recruiting do you find the most difficult? When I say area, I'm talking about the actual physical aspect of recruiting, not the geographical location.
I learned early on that at D3, if you take on MFN Myers, you better be ready to send the whole bank to one guy. So if I ever go after a guy, they typically are within my 300. It's a guy that I feel like is probably top 3 or 4 at his position. And if somebody's coming into my territory, kind of within my 300, then I always feel like I have an advantage so long as it's not someone that has twice as many recruits as me. I think it's always important to take a look at how many recruits you have versus how many recruits the other player has. If you're sitting at 10 and they're sitting at 17, they have a whole lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, for example, T-Book, who is at CLU, and I'm at Menlo, we're not that far apart. So a lot of times our guys overlap. And even though we've never talked and there's no kind of agreement, trust me, we don't have any kind of agreement, you just always feel like, okay, I'm not going to win that battle. I can tell already I'm not even getting a sniff. And the opposite is sometimes at Valdosta State. At Valdosta State, there were probably 6 of the top 15 or 20 recruits were within my 200. I was going to fight for those guys. it's very interesting. I'm still fighting for one of those guys, and I probably am going to lose. But I do at least have a punter on my on my roster, so that I don't get a sim punter. I had that happen to me one time. I wasn't going to recruit a punter. I ended up losing the recruiting battle, not having enough money to recruit anything, and I ended up with a sim punter. And literally, about the third or fourth time that you have an 8 or a 10-yard punt, you make that a priority.
Exactly.
Go ahead and get a punt.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today on your interview here for episode 4. And now, here you go. Your 10 numbers for Blitz is Coming.
All right, we're going to do number 1, number 6, number 12, number 13, 16, 18, 21, 33, 43, and 50.
All right. That's 10 of them. They're in the books. So Blitz is Coming is our next guest, episode 5. Shannon, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us here today on This, That, and the Other. And everybody else, tune in again next time.